All right. Should be started. Yep. Apparently we've been going for 4 seconds. I just couldn't see it.
Okay. Refresh and see if we get an update.
It says an excellent connection. Hey, everybody.
No update, so I'm going to have to click on the thing. There we go.
Now we just have to wait for people to show up and see what we're going to talk about today. Hey, 2 people. I heard that. Hi, Emerald. How are you? You said something?
Well, it said say something.
Oh, I see. Ivan says, hey, beautiful people, how are you? We're actually pretty good this week, so awesome. Samantha Blackbird says hello. Violet says hello. Hi, everybody. I got my birthday present from my daughter on my head, so I thought I'd wear that and show it off today. You noticed I was wearing my hair up a lot, so she thought she'd get me something pretty to stick in it. It was a good call. Emerald says, I'm good. Where are you guys all from? Hi, Catherine. How are you? I get to see my doctor this coming week. Find out if my bergamot is working. So we'll see. See if it's working or not. Then I'll decide what to do with it.
Yeah, that was for what? The
Triglycerides and bad cholesterol. Yeah. Samantha is from Nebraska. Is it cold where you are right now, or are you out of the cold right now because it's gone south? Violet says, that is a lovely hairpiece. Is that the Isis necklace on you today? No, this is a Tibetan prayer box, and this is my ruby and emerald necklace. And then I have a little beaded pouch that I found, and it's got one of my something I put in there for some reason. I don't think I have any bells on, although they make funny sounds. There's things inside of this that might sound funny. Carmen says, I want my hands 3 times. I want to. Okay. Oh, she decided that didn't sound right, so she took it away. Samantha says, still kind of cold. Well, the ice storm that's hitting the southeast is kind of phenomenal and unprecedented. So yeah, we're having fun weather out there everywhere. So what do we want to talk about today? I'm going to do a video on books because everyone keeps asking me about that. But Mercury decided to mess up my computer this week, and Ian had to fix it. So
everybody likes your headpiece so much, you should tell them it was a Christmas or a
birthday present. I did in the beginning.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I missed that.
Violet says you have another on above your last pouch. Oh, this is my tiger eye that I wear almost all the time. Angela says, hi and blessings, Siofra and chat, and hi, Violet. Hi, Angela. Welcome to our live chat. Let's talk about candle reading. I love watching what my deity candles do. Candle reading is actually something I don't think I have gotten into. I've just seen it online. It's about seeing how the wax melts and what kind of a shapes it might make, and it's sort of like tea leaf reading in the sense that you're trying to interpret shapes and stuff like that. Samantha says, still snow and ice. I'm just warm-blooded, so I just wear a hoodie. Yeah. Violet says hi again. Hi, Violet. So, yeah, candle wax can be interesting stuff. And it's like anything else. It probably works really well for some people and then doesn't for others. That's sort of the whole way divination of all kinds works. Some click, some don't. It's the way it works.
Yeah, the only way I've had any result with tarot cards is through an enormously complicated method that was used by the Golden Dawn. Seems to be the only thing that works for me. And it takes you a couple hours to get a reading. It kind of reduces your enthusiasm for it.
Samantha says tips on reading cards. Apparently she knew you were going to talk about that. Practice. Lots and lots of practice. Reading. And then trying to get out of your own head. Once you know the cards well enough, try to see the patterns, because it's about the larger patterns and how they relate to each other that makes you a good reader or not. If it's just precisely what it says, but you don't see the relationships between the different cards and their positions, then you can't really, see a narrative and talk about a narrative. So
yeah, good intuition plays a part for sure.
Definitely. Ruth says, hi all. Hi, Ruth. Angela says, how are you, Violet? So we're waiting for Violet to respond. So yeah, I think Venus is also retrograde right now. Something else. Maybe Neptune? Always fun out in the cosmos. You never know how it's going to affect you. But, since I had that interesting experience with the ball of green, the glowing green thing that then I could see, the woods in, that hasn't happened again. It only happened twice the one night. So I think it's like a slow process that they have me going through. Angela says, Samantha says, I started doing shadow work and meditating. Good. It's an important thing to do. And it can get kind of intense, but this is a good time of year to do it. Angela says, how are you, Miss Siofra? Pretty well. Angela says, I had a candle on Aphrodite's altar that I offered her melt and leave a wax heart. Well, perfect. That's rather appropriate for symbolism. Angela says, I am debating what I should do with it. I worry if I try and add candles to her bowl or remove, I might break it. Yeah, I guess that could be an issue. If you wanted to keep it, you'd have to figure out how, or maybe it's just one of those things that it's the energy of the heart, not the heart itself, that's the important part, that you already got the message and, know that she is paying attention and listening to you. And is sending you energy, and that's the manifestation of it, but then energy is continually sent and changes, so it might not be a bad thing if it got covered up with other wax or it broke when you moved it. I don't know. Depends on how you think about it. Ivan says, in a previous video you mentioned an astral body can be destroyed, and I can't help but wonder, how does that happen?
Well, the only way I know of myself is after the death of an individual, and their individuals undergo an astral death also, where their mental body separates from it, and then their astral body is left kind of out there, and it slowly dissipates.
And some people think that might be, some hauntings might be a leftover astral shell or something like that.
Yeah, they call them shells and and things like that, but I don't know.
I don't remember talking about that, so I'm at a loss.
Yeah, you could, I don't know. I don't think that's, why would anybody want to do that anyway, unless you might as well kill somebody.
Or you want to die yourself.
Destroy their astral body.
Yeah.
I could probably think of some ways to do that, but it's not something I care to discuss.
Or do. Okay, so we don't know how it might happen except in a natural way. Violet says, hi there, I am well, luckily. Everyone around me seems to be dropping with the dreaded bug. I am running between rooms, printing and scanning, doing art and reading and learning about the fixed stars. Awesome. Ruth says, is 63 too old to work with Artemis? Well, Artemis is, a lunar goddess, and she was single, and I don't think so. I don't think age is actually a relevant factor when it comes to that. Depends on which aspect of her that you're working with. I mean, she's known for, the hunt and for protecting children and women in childbirth for sure, but still, I think Artemis would have something to say about whether it was good or not. If she's okay with it, I wouldn't worry. Angela says, oh, that sounds fun, Violet. Emerald says, every candle I've ever burned, altar, spell, offering, or otherwise, has always burned to a crescent moon shape. It's pretty amazing. I take it as a sign that God is with me. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. Ivan says, yeah, I have no intentions of doing such stuff. I was just curious. Okay.
Though it is said that occasionally a spirit being can pick up one of the discarded astral shells and masquerade as that person for a short time before the astral body dissolves the rest of the way.
Yeah. So Angela says, in my deity work, I don't think they see race or color or age. I work with Egyptian deities and I'm Caucasian. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're working with energy and spirit. We're not working with whatever culture, body, ethnicity, age, or whatever that we're with. If it's compatible, it's compatible, and it's the energy that's compatible. And I'm not Egyptian, and I'm not Greek, and Aphrodite was one of my earlier deities, and yeah, it's just, I call myself a universalist since I work with a lot of different pantheons and different different gods and goddesses from those pantheons, and we just have a relationship like I do with people. Some of them go on for a while, and some of them drop off, and Isis was definitely one of my early ones. Ivan said, thank you, though. You're welcome. Shay says, hello, bright blessings to all. Hi, Shay. I brought the thing you gave me for my birthday, too, but it was too much stuff around my neck. So I took it off. I'll have to wear it just by itself for another one instead of the shawl I made covering it up and stuff like that. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's my favorite color, purple. Angela says, I'm the same, though I finally have settled with my goddesses that seem to be wanting a permanent relationship, which is nice. Yeah, one of my real permanent ones that's been around off and on for a long time, because I have found like diary notes from years before, has been Aurora. And so it's kind of interesting how that can happen. And then, you sort of forget about it or get on with something else, and then it comes back, and that kind of thing. So, and sometimes I think the relationship with a god or a goddess is time sensitive. It's like what you need right now, the phase you're going through at the moment, and it's the most appropriate energy for what's happening and can help you the most and is most interested in participating because of that. And then as you change and grow, that can change and grow too, and other things can open up. Catherine says, hi, Shay. TV Movies says, hello, good day to everyone. Hi. Luna says, hello all. How are you, Siofra and Ian? We're pretty good at the moment. Jonathan says, hi, everyone. Siofra, Ian, you make it sound like you have many wands, but only one staff at a time. Was that a magical decision? Okay, so we only have one staff, period, not at a time. I will probably only ever have the one staff, and it's sort of the universe gave us the staff as a recognition for our authority. It sort of tells the spirit world where we are, who we are, what we can do, and that we're to be respected. And so that's why for both of us, it's not something that we made.
It was a gift, and I tried using a staff that I made for a while, and I never was happy with it because it represents something different. It represents that we have a relationship with the universe because of the way the staffs came to us. So the wands I just make myself. So
and the wands I definitely have expanded because I want to have different kinds of energy for different purposes for when I need them. And it helps me to understand the energies that I'm working with. I mean, the process of making a wand and trying to tune into that specific energy for that wand teaches me a whole bunch of things that are difficult to express about the energy and how it works and what it means. It's sort of incorporating it into my spirit or into the subconscious or...
I did have. I was given one wand, one staff originally by the universe, but then I misunderstood and I disrespected it, and it ended up getting left somewhere. And so we could have went back and got it. And that's when I tried making one myself that didn't work. So I gave it back to the universe eventually and left it in the woods somewhere. And the universe provided me with another one, which was the correct one. And then this time, the way it came about, there was no doubt.
So Luna says, hi, Jonathan. Shay says, yay, Siofra, I'm glad you liked the gift. I love your new shawl, and the hairpiece you're wearing is very elegant. Yes. And Jade did a good job of picking a good hairpiece for me. And it was at a local native shop at the casino up the road that she found it. So, and it's my colors, it's good colors and stuff. So it goes with the things that I wear and tend to wear. Well, it is, it's one of those things, you know, it's not quite a barrette because you put a stick through it. So I'm not sure what to call it. Angela says, how was your birthday, Siofra? Did you have cake? Anything exciting happen? Well, it was just 4 of us, me and Ian, my daughter and my granddaughter. I ordered the cake from Safeway, and it was a single layer chocolate fudge cake, and they put purple roses on it because it was my cake and that's what I wanted. And I didn't want too big of a cake since there were only going to be a few of us, and you know, we might have overdone the sugar if we weren't careful. And then we had sushi. I ordered sushi from a local restaurant. My daughter picked it up on the way over here to my house, and we ate and talked and just enjoyed each other. I got some nice cards. I got a card from Ian, and I got a card from my daughter, and she gave me the whatever we call this hair thing. And then a few days later, I got my present and card from Shay with the. I have it here. So yeah, this is my other present. She got me this lovely sort of scarf with a Celtic knot on it. It's kind of neat and a nice color. So that was fun. So my birthday was sort of extended since it happened a few days later, you know. And yeah, so it was fun. I didn't have any major mystical experiences, although a few days before I saw my mother in my room, which worried me a little bit because, you know, she was very clear, but then I realized she was thinking about my birth. And that was interesting because then I was pulled into her memory of my birth and what it was like for her to be pregnant with me and how she was feeling and all this other stuff, which I've not had before. So that was very interesting as an empathic experience and sort of a better understanding of my mother and where she's coming from, even though we have different ideas of what love means and that kind of thing. So Jonathan says, thanks guys, I enjoy this so much and you guys are very insightful. You're welcome. Samantha says, happy belated birthday. Thank you. Angela says, that's amazing and happy late birthday. Thank you. They keep on coming no matter what I do. I try to put my foot down and just say, time, stop now. But it just doesn't seem to care what I say or how I feel about it. But hey, you know, it's what it is. Age, time, space, all that stuff. It just keeps on happening. What we think about it regardless. Which is interesting when you're working with magical forces, having to take that into account. You know, when you're doing something, it's like there's certain things you actually cannot actually control, and because the universe is vast and we are very, very tiny. So Devangi says, hi, is this real? Well, we think it's real, and we're live, if that's what you're asking. Jonathan says, what if you set a precedent with the universe of more effort in magical operations than change your mind? For example, not a full ritual circle for something. I gotta wind that up because more people are talking, which is good. After that's how you'd been doing it. Well, I don't think changing your mind is definitely is necessarily a bad idea because we grow and we evolve, and not so much changing our minds, but changing our approach. Yeah, it is really going to depend upon your development and what your.
But yeah, it's fine. Everybody goes through lots of changes.
He's going to sneeze. Yep, there it goes. Violet says, when you see pictures of animals with marble eyes glowing, does that mean spirit vision on the other planes? No, that means they have a thing on the back of their eyes that makes their eyes light up, because that's how they see in the dark. Their eyes are different than ours. And it's not a mystery. So Devangi says, I'm in India. It's 3:46 a.m. Well, you're up late, and welcome to our live stream. And yes, we are real. Samantha Blackbird says, I was thinking about channeling. Thoughts? Feels? Well, having good boundaries is going to be important. Being in control of what you're doing is going to be vital. I mean, I was a channeler for years, and certainly, I set the rules as far as what was and what wasn't okay. And if I decided I didn't want to do it, then it would stop. But the better you know yourself, the better of a channeler you'll be, because you really need to have a clear mind and a clear heart in order to allow spirit to speak through you or to receive messages that way. So that's what I would recommend, and be particular about what kind of energy you permit. We had somebody came over to our house one day and said that she was just going to open herself up and let any spirit that wanted to jump in just jump in and have a go. And I'm like, can you get out of my house? I don't want you here. I didn't say that out loud, but it's like, not working with this person because there's no discernment, no boundaries whatsoever. And also try to not take yourself too seriously. That would be a big one. So Devangi wants to know, what is this channel all about? So it's about magic. It's about developing a relationship with the universe, about being open to communing with or seeing or exploring, having experiences with life forms that are maybe not always visible to most people, and a way of opening ourselves up to nature and realize that consciousness isn't just a human thing, that there's forms of consciousness out there in the animals, the trees, and and it is better for the planet, in my opinion, if we acknowledge that there are different kinds of consciousness out there, and that we're not the only things on the planet that have a say in what's happening, or have some kind of an experience that might be good for us to encounter, know about, and that kind of thing. And it helps to sort of begin the process of diminishing our ego, thinking that we are the most important thing out there, because that sort of interferes with our ability to actually connect with other life forms that exist and coexist around us all the time. And knowing who you are is really, as far as I'm concerned, the main point. Angela says, oh wow, Violet, that sounds amazing and a little scary. Devangi says, I stumbled upon this channel because I was searching about Fae. Well, yes, we have a bunch of videos about the Fae, and I've encountered them ever since I was a child. And in fact, one of the videos that I did about the Fae is my most popular video on the channel, which was quite a surprise to me, but and every culture is going to have different kinds of Fae or different relationships with the Fae, but they're basically on one level the nature spirits that assist and help with the growth and development and changes of the season and so forth, with all the life that's around, and every culture has a slightly different take on them. So yeah, that's probably why you saw this channel. Luna says, thank you for that info. Read the staff, Ian. I've been busy working on my staff all week with the help of the great wizard Jenkins. Thank you, Jonathan. Vanessa V says, hello, everybody. Hi, Vanessa V. One of our Vanessas has arrived. Zuzana says, hello. Hi, Zuzana. Luna says, and now I'm thinking that I might need to gift the staff back to the universe. Well, I mean, not necessarily. It just really depends upon what you want your staff to say or what your staff means to you.
Yeah, in our case, it's kind of a symbolic of the universe accepting us as somebody who has done things on the part of the universe, sort of. It's as an acknowledgement of magical authority. I think in Wiccan traditions it comes in at about the third degree, but this is kind of the equivalent. They're supposed to be gifted one by whoever initiates them, I think. I'm not certain because I'm not a Wiccan. I haven't been through that, but kind of the same thing. The universe sent us these in interesting enough ways it was clear what the message was.
Oh, yeah. If you want to know about how I got my staff, watch my video on how I got my staff. It's a very long and amazing story, and it was an amazing experience, and it was extremely meaningful to me when that happened, how the universe gave it to me, and the hands through which the universe gifted it. It was a highlight of my life, I have to say.
Yeah, when something happens, the universe has a way of letting you know when it's
Important.
giving you something like that, or
Yeah.
it's particularly important.
So Magnolia says, hello all, I'm new here, first time catching a stream, hope you're all having a wonderful day. Thank you, Magnolia, and welcome to our stream. Jonathan says, Devangi, welcome friend, this is a good place. Vanessa V says, me too, Devangi, I also found Siofra thanks to the Fae. The Fae is a good introduction. Luna says that Devangi Pathak, welcome, and yes, it's real. Devangi says, thanks Jonathan, for such a warm welcome. Samantha Blackbird says, I am super hyper focused about it. I think that's the problem. Sometimes that is the problem. Devangi says, thanks, Siofra. I am liking it. Thanks. You're welcome. And he says, thanks to Luna. Looks like Mia has shown up and I missed it. Somewhere up there. Angela says, welcome. Magnolia. Jonathan says, is it the same thing making the simple chamomile fluid condenser with oil instead of water? It's not nice using water on wood tools. Oh, I see. So using it like cooking it in oil,
Well,
or soaking it in oil.
you could, and it would work to a certain extent. Probably be a more effective fluid condenser with water, but if especially use a vegetable oil, don't use a mineral oil or something like that, and using vegetable oil with it should be just fine, especially if the herbs are dried.
How about if you got chamomile as an essential oil, and you'd have to charge it up for being a fluid condenser.
Yeah.
That might work too.
Yeah. Or you can use a strong black tea. Chamomile is probably preferable, and then there's the universal condensers, and Barden also explains how to make a powdered form of condenser, or depending on what you do, you can mix fluid condenser with stuff. Like you could put it on a piece of paper and let the paper soak it up, and then when the paper's dry, like if you were making a wand, you could put a hole in it and put the paper in the wand or something else, so that you don't, if you're doing something metal. So yeah, if you can have it dried on a piece of paper or anything like that.
True.
You can put that in, I've used that on a bunch of things.
So Vanessa V says, welcome Devangi and Magnolia. Moonfire Dawn says, I had been into draconic witchcraft and the Fae, and that's how I found you. The famous video. Well, cool. Welcome. I'm so glad I made that video. Jonathan says, do you guys use water-based fluid condensers on your wood tools?
I use it on everything that it's not going to rust. I like to use it everywhere myself.
Because it evaporates.
And and it dries.
Yeah.
And you let it dry. You can paint it on the back of magic mirrors to make magic mirrors, or you can do it like one of the best ways is just to soak it into a bunch of paper towels and cut them up into squares the shape of the magic mirror and put that on the back and charge it up.
So Lavender says, hi Siofra, any tips for connecting with ancestors, specifically the ones who passed their gifts on to us? I guess an altar to your ancestor that you know had the gift, maybe. Meditation. I don't work with my ancestors from this life in particular, except maybe way, 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 way back, so I don't even notice them as ancestors. So Mia says, why can't you say thank you to the fairies? I have no idea why. I always say thank you.
I have no idea where that came up.
That is a Christian bias thing, that if you acknowledge and say thank you to them, then you're opening up a portal or an opening, you're giving them an opening and allowing them to interfere with you and to, in a lot of the later fairy traditions, they were associated with the devil and with evil. And so, you wouldn't want to thank the devil, so why would you want to thank a fairy? And it's a trick that they're trying to give you something pretty to trick you into thanking them, so that then, aha, now I can do stuff. I don't think that's true. I think that's a fallacy. And a human one, that we made that up in our heads and then sort of continually promoted that idea throughout history until people stopped questioning whether or not that made sense, and people just kept passing it down. Don't ever say thank you to a fairy or you're going to be in trouble. My opinion, I say thank you to them all the time, and it's like, and I try to help them when the opportunity arises, and they often try to help me when the opportunity arises. We have like a friendship, it's a relationship. They don't work for me, I don't work for them. It's kind of like with the gods and the goddesses and the other spirits that I have interactions with. It's not like it's an equal footing. We're different but equal, I guess, would be one way of putting it. So Samantha says, as I'm learning my cards, I've been watching my zodiac sign readings on YouTube. Then a few people says I shouldn't. Okay. I guess that would be entirely up to you. If you think it's muddying the water or something like that. I don't know why one should or shouldn't, either one way or the other. Yeah. So Vanessa V says, so talking about the Fae, is it true that iron is harmful for them? Somehow I don't believe it. Well, if you believe it's harmful for them and you've decided that it's harmful for them, then the people that work with the Fae who have that idea don't use iron. So we had a woman who was briefly in our circle that we bought a bone knife for because she didn't want to have any metal around her because she believed that they didn't like it. I think it's a sort of representation of violence, maybe. The idea, warriors coming in using iron and so forth, conquering people, etc. I don't know that there's any validity to it or not. They've not told me that, I guess I should say. So Angela says, I think the Fae giving you a gift would be a sign they care. And it would be rude not to say thank you. Fae are big on respect from what I hear. Well, yeah, I think so too. I mean, you're judged by your actions. And so, if they give you all sorts of cool stuff and you reject it constantly, they're going to stop giving you stuff. And they're going to go fine. They don't want to have anything to do with me. I'm fine with that. So if you want a relationship, it has to, there has to be some kind of a give and take kind of thing going on. Angela says, iron is said to drive away evil. That's why prisons had iron bars to bind the evil in the prisoner's souls. So that would probably be why they said that that fairies didn't like iron then, because that would be that relationship again with the church and with the devil and with evil and so forth, which makes a certain amount of sense. Not that I think it's true, just that I can see the thinking of the people who came up with that. That would make a certain amount of sense. That would be along the same pathway mentally of them being in league with the devil, so protect yourself with iron. So Jonathan says to Mia, if you say thank you, the idea is that you are in their debt, that you will owe them for the thing you thank them for, which is why some people express appreciation but not gratitude. Mia says, yeah, I think it does not make sense too. I tried to do research why I thank them, and nobody gives any reason why. It's just like acceptable or accepted fact. Angela says, so it could come from that. Devangi says, maybe using an iron is a metaphorical way to signify the error and influence of weapons created by human. And it's a possibility too. I mean, it's like, it's hard to know. Because, they have their own thing that they're dealing with. They deal with plants and with living things and so forth, and iron is not exactly living, where wood would be alive. Shell would be from something that was alive, so if it's strictly that, but iron is in the ground, and they're in the ground, and, I mean, that would mean there would be a lot of places they couldn't go, because there's probably iron all over the place. And Mia says that Jonathan thanks, but it sounds weird. I don't know, lust in my language, saying thank you does not signify, what? Wait a minute. I lost it. It went up. Nobody gives a reason why. Oh, she took it back. That's what it is. Okay. It went away as I was reading it. Okay. Vanessa said, I just think it doesn't make much sense considering that iron is everywhere. She's on the same thing. And it's in our blood. This is a good point. Human blood, iron, hemoglobin. Without it, we would be dead. So Mia said, at Jonathan, thanks, but it sounds weird. I don't know, in my language, saying thank you does not mean that I owe something to a person. No, it's just acknowledging the fact that they went out of their way to give you something nice. And, yeah. And I disagree that it puts you in their debt.
And I'd say there's an easy way around that. Why don't you reverse it and give them something first?
Then they're in your debt.
There you go. If a person wants to look at it that way,
yeah,
be the first.
But if it's a relationship, the best kind of relationship is giving a gift without expectation. And if you can give the gift without expectation of something in return, you almost always get something in return that you may not expect, because it sort of opens up a lot of different doorways to the possibility. If you give something with a specific return in mind, then if you don't get that specific return, you're disappointed, and you're missing out on the other possible ways that energy could come back.
Much better than anything you'd ever thought of.
Right, because our imagination, reality is way cooler than some of our imagination could be. So Angela says, I personally don't believe that part of the Fae mythos, Mia. Catherine says, I was told by one of the Fae that they thought humans said thank you so often that it lost its meaning.
Well, and in a way, there's something to that, but it depends on the individual and everything. We were out, and some spirits told us to stop using tobacco for offerings, since though it was sacred to the Native Americans and things, and we expected Native American spirits would like it, they could get nothing out of it because it had no meaning to us personally, because Siofra and I don't smoke. We don't use tobacco ourselves, so they recommended using something else that we do value, such as sage.
That I grow myself. So Kevin says, does it mean anything if you randomly smell sage? And hi, first live. Hi, Kevin. I randomly smell all kinds of things. And I associate the different smells with different spirits. Like I have several Fae that come to visit, and they bring the smell of lavender, amber. One of them is chocolate for my granddaughter, and vanilla. And in my office, a lot of times I would smell sweetgrass, especially when certain clients would come in, when there wasn't any sweetgrass burning or anything like that. It'd be quite strong. So I think it's a form of communication, and it's one of the clairalience. It's the smelling things that aren't there. And they can be really strong. So sage is a good smell, unless you're allergic to it. So Devangi says at Vanessa, valid point on blood. Lavender says, I miss summertime. I feel most connected to them around that time. Yeah, that's when they can relax because they've already done all the work at the spring and they don't have to do the work at the fall yet, and they can just sort of like enjoy and reap the harvest of the work they've already done, so they have more time to interact with us too. Jonathan says, yes, Mia, some people think if you thank someone you owe them. Intent in your heart is the difference. Ian's right. Give the deities and fae and nature spirits just to be nice. So Vanessa V says, last week for my birthday, my friends and I made a honey cake for the fae and left some mead out. But I don't know if they liked it. I haven't heard anything back. Well, I think, they enjoy the intent at the least, if nothing else. I mean, it's like our energy and what it does to our spirit when we do something like that is something that they can see. So I think that is the important part of it, not the act of it or the thing itself so much as how it changes our energy and how we feel and what we put out when we do it. And then Angela says, I'm sure they can feel if you're sincere. Energy doesn't lie. Boy, are we ever talking together here. Ivan says, fun fact, saying thank you in my language means gifting fortune. Oh, I like that. Good, Ivan. That's very nice. Yeah. So Vanessa V says, I love the thanks in Irish. Go Rav Maith Agat. May good be with you. I know I said that wrong, but I'm not Irish. Yay, I made it, Marisol says. Hi, Marisol. Angela says, my great-grandmother's spirit brings the smell of her perfume into the room. The scent was discontinued and changed, so it's not something you find out on the market. Well, that's awesome. And I think that is one of the ways that spirits can identify themselves to people who have the ability to smell that. Luna says, hi, Marisol. Mia says, okay, thank you all, guys. I have to go study now. Bye. Bye, Mia. Have a good studying session. Devangi says, bye, Mia, and study well. Angela says, that is the coolest meaning for thank you ever. Yes, I think we need to adopt that.
We need to find out how to pronounce it first.
Well, not that one, the other one that means gifting fortune, Ivan's language. Thank you means gifting fortune. I like that attitude.
Cool. I agree.
Yeah, that's a nice attitude. It's nice that there's different cultures and stuff like that. That's one of the things I enjoy about our channel because, it's like we may not have the same experience of reality because of where we live and so forth, but then we can find some common ground and things like that we're interested in, and I think that's awesome. The last of her kind just joined in and said, hello, hi, last of her kind. How are you doing today? Ivan says, if anyone wonders, it's Bulgarian. Aha. Well, I like the Bulgarian attitude towards thank you. And, I know with the Native Americans, when I lived up north, one of the things you had to be careful with if you went into a Native person's home was complimenting them on something. Like if you looked at something and said, oh, I really like that, they would give it to you. It was like a standard practice. If you mentioned anything in their house, you walked out the door with it. So, yeah, it's good to know what people's practices are before you go into their home, just in case. So Sam Weber says, the first time I've caught you live, welcome. Loving this. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and energy. You're welcome. It's always good to get new people, and I think it's great. Angela says, oh, I was just about to ask what the word was. Well, it's Bulgarian, but we don't know what the word is yet. We just know what language it's in. So maybe Ivan will tell us. And then we can try to learn Bulgarian. Badly, I'm sure.
I don't know. It seems like something I wouldn't have a tendency to use very often.
Probably not.
Bay.
Yeah, but hey. But, that's one of those things. We're lucky here right now. We're actually having a sunny day. The rain has backed off for a couple of days. We had a sunny day yesterday, too, although it was really cold yesterday morning. For us, we don't get that much frost in the wintertime, and it was all covered. The whole car was covered in frost, so that was pretty exciting. I was glad it went away before I had to get to my office. I didn't have to wait for the car to warm up and clear up so I could see. But, yeah. But I'm having fun with the crafting stuff, and it really is definitely helping my hand from the damage. I can now almost completely close my fist, which I haven't been able to do. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's a weird angle for my hand. But I hadn't been able to close it at all. It'd be like a claw kind of thing because of the shingles that I had. So I've been working on it, doing deep tissue on it, working on the tendons and that kind of thing. Since they never did send me to the physical therapist, they never called. They said, hey, you need some physical therapy. Go see these people. And then they're like, never. So, take care of it myself. That's kind of what I end up doing. A lot. So, what else do we want to talk about?
I'm sure somebody out there has a question or two.
I'm sure they probably typed them in, but they just haven't shown up yet.
Or could be.
Jonathan says, Ian, not sure I might not use Bulgarian very often. He thought that was funny, and he loved it. Angela says, you should go to a laser treatment if you can. It's great for loosening things up and non-invasive. Well, it's been working pretty well, what I've been doing, so I'm pretty happy with it at the moment. But yeah, I've had laser therapy before. It is very good. Vanessa, oh, what happened to your hand? I had shingles in May, and I still have nerve damage from that. And so, yeah, it's still recovering. The surgeon said that I was on track for recovering, so I wasn't behind schedule. Samantha says, question, there is a presence in my basement by the washer dryer. How do you identify what it is? I don't get a bad vibe, just I woke up to sleep upstairs because my room is on the other side. Yep, just about right on time, those idiots. Got to be a bot. Not sure exactly, depending on what you're doing, is to find out what that is, the presence there. I mean, I'm an empath. I go and try and feel what's going on and see if I can help move it along to where it needs to be. And because generally speaking, being stuck in the basement by the washer dryer is not a really ideal location. Sometimes nature spirits get stuck in a house, and so if it's one of those things, I use selenite. I have a large piece of selenite that I use that they can see because selenite's visible. The light it puts out is visible on the other planes, and then I guide it out a door so that it can get out. So if it's something like that, that's what I would do. Yeah, you have to feel your way through because there's no one way of doing that. Every situation I've encountered has been different. And that's why intuition and openness and experience are so helpful when it comes to figuring that out. And being an empath definitely is a good thing. If you can see pictures or get feelings from what it is, you might get a better handle on what's going on. Samantha says, I woke up at 4 or 5 a.m. multiple times to sleep in the living room. My sister and brother seen it as well. We saged and everything. The furnace is there too. So if you saged, after you saged, did you do something to get in the positive energy, not just release the negative energy? Saging by itself isn't enough. And depending on what the spirit is, it may not do anything at all. It really depends. It's not like a universal for anything you want to get rid of. It's more specific for certain types of energy. But you probably want to, burn something pleasant, bring in pleasant smells to fill the space, open up windows and doors, sweetgrass or, what's that called? Champa? Nag champa. Is a good incense to bring positive energy in, and then see if it changes the energy there. Or you can put take a black stone, like an obsidian or something like that, even a plain black rock, and put it where the energy is and tell the stone to collect the negative energy, leave it there for a few days, and then take it outside and bury it in the ground and let the energy dissipate into the earth and see if that helps. Since I don't know for sure exactly what it is you're dealing with, I'm just spitballing ideas for a possible, couple of different things. So Ivan says, oh, I would love to tell you. So the word is blagodaria. Blago means fortune or something sweet, and valuable, and Daria means greatly gifting. That's
Nice.
lovely. Very nice. Thank you very much. Samantha says, I burned sweetgrass and lit white candles and opened doors. Okay, so you did the other part of that. So try the rock and see if that helps, and then try the selenite and see if you can lead it out the door if it's something like that. Sam Weber says, for me, when I get vibes, I just reclaim the space by cleaning the heck out of it. It sounds weird, but works better for me than incense. I just moved to a new place and had to assert myself gently. Well, yeah, actually, that's a good way of claiming your space and making it yours. I see, that would work quite well. Angela says, oh, I love that, Ivan. Yes, we love that very much. Samantha says, yeah, that's why I asked how to identify. Jessica said, hi, Siofra. It's been ages since I caught a live. Well, hi, Jessica. Thank you for joining us. Joycey Jean says, could she have brownies? Well, I mean, there's a lot of different potential nature spirits. We can't really identify them over the internet. I don't know. Samantha Sweetness says, what do you think it means when you consistently dream of someone you don't see anymore, but they're alive? They're thinking about you, maybe? I mean, when I saw my mother in my room so clear, I was a little concerned because, usually you see someone like that, they're dead. And I'm like, I don't think my mother's dead. and
No, that could be
and
a good
thought
explanation,
form,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was thinking about me so much, I actually saw her thought form. So that would be what I would suspect, would be that's what you'd be seeing. Jessica said, is that your new birthday gift hair ornament? Yes, it is. My daughter gave this to me. She did good picking it, too. Angela says, if I get vibes I don't know, I go over to my altar and light a few candles, tell it aloud. If it will behave, it is welcome, but if it's not going to, it can move along. Yeah, I guess that's going to depend on its interpretation of what does it mean if I behave. You need to be more specific. Say you can have this space right here and leave the rest of the house alone, or
just go away.
Or just go away.
Yeah.
This isn't your house. This isn't a good place for you to hang out. You need to go outside in the woods, Have some fun. Go out in nature. Samantha says, he hugs me in my dreams. Yep, that's what I would think. It's probably thinking about you. That's the way telepathy actually works, is through thought forms, but most people aren't consciously aware of them. So Devangi says that, Angela, wow, you have an altar. That is very cool. Well, I think there's a lot of us here that have altars. Since there's a lot of witches on this channel. I have an altar right behind me. Yes, altars are good because it gives you a place to focus.
We only have like 4 more in this room.
Well, actually, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but that one's not being used yet. So we've got 6 altars actually in this room. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot the
lunar altar, 1 for each direction, and then your original altar that you came with. I say you came with it because when you arrived, so did it. Sort of. I guess you built it after I met you, but same thing. All right. Angela says, okay. Oh, I lay out the house rules in full if I feel like it responds friendly to that phrase. Samantha says, I also have an altar. Thank you, Siofra. You're so very appreciated. You're welcome. Angela says, I technically have 3 triangulating my space. The energy is very good in my space. Good. That's one of the ways we can, influence our space. So that is, I guess, basically my advice. If it's not complying, if you don't like it there, if you don't want it there, there's some ideas of how to help it out the door, either with the rock or with the selenite, and showing it the way out. I mean, I did one one investigation for a local house here, and no one told me that the young boy who lived in the house thought there was a monster under his bed. I was just in there checking the place out, and the kid wasn't there at the time either. I walked into his room, and I immediately saw under his bed, there was a nature spirit under his bed. And I'm like, what are you doing under there? This isn't where you belong. And so I used the selenite wand to help him get out of the house. And when the boy came home, even though he did not know what I had done, he immediately went to his room and told his mother that the monster from under his bed was gone. So that's sort of validation, independent validation that something happened and something real, whatever it is. So yeah, So Angela says, so I usually don't have problem vibes. I think it's due to my deity's altars being present. Yeah, I don't know. Guess it depends on your deities. I've never had them bring in weird stuff. Lavender says, I like putting my altar next to the window to creep my neighbors off. Hey, in my office, I have a really large clear quartz crystal, formation. I have a pretty good significant amethyst one as well. And I had candles and stuff, and these people came in. I was working on their son for free because he really needed the help, and I wanted to do some community service and not, and that was a way of giving back, and they were suspicious, and they're very, very Christian, and they came into my office, and they're questioning me about my motives, and I'm sitting there thinking, don't look up, don't look up, don't look at the cabinet in the corner, because it's like, I will not be able to work on this young boy. But they never did look up, and they didn't notice it at all, so sometimes it's invisible, which is sometimes a good thing.
And isn't that a sad comment that when somebody actually wants to help you, in reality nowadays, it's considered
suspicious.
There's something wrong with you because you want to help out people. Now what? Tell me that's not something wrong with our society. When you've got so many people trying to rip people off by pretending to need help, using that as a method to do it, that we get so untrustful, we can't trust anybody who genuinely wants to offer us something.
Yeah, well, I could understand they wanted to be sure that their child was safe.
Well, I know, but that's my feeling about society.
I know. So Samantha says, yeah, I'm going to clean and cleanse again and use the space more, light it up more, make use of it. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. The more activity there is there, the less vacuum there is for something to fill. Gwen says, what kinds of spirits would show you disturbing images while you're trying to sleep? Not nice ones.
Well, I don't know. Did you piss any off, for example?
Or are you doing some shadow work and it's coming out of your own subconscious? That can happen too. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times those things come out so that you can get rid of them and get cleansed of them. If it's shadow work stuff.
Hold on here. I went too far.
How can you do that?
Well, because Luna says, I'm feeling slightly jealous. I have 11 rooms, but only one altar. I guess that's what comes of still being in the broom closet. Well, those are just the altars that are in here. In my bedroom, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got at least 4 altars in my bedroom, too. And there may be more coming. And then Ian has his own in his room. And so, yeah. I mean, it's really easy to fill up an altar, and then I need more space. I sometimes things come to me, and I have to have them, and then I have to have a place to put them, and, whatever. He actually built me a special shelf for my altar in my bedroom because I had so many God and Goddess statues, I couldn't get anything else on the table except... So I told him what I wanted, and he built me this shelf. And the funniest thing was, it was all nice and straight and everything, but the wood grain was not, and so it looks like it's crooked, even though it's straight. But then I have 3 in the bottom, 1 on either side, so that's like 3, 4, and then 1 on top of him. That's 5, and then 1 over there is 6. So I have 6 statues on the bottom, and then 2 in the middle, 1 in the top, and then 2 on either side. So there's another 3, and then 2 small ones on the top. I have these little bitty ones that I bought. But yeah, so I had to make room. That's just me. So Sam says at Samantha, I had really good luck with that method. Angela says, it is so heartbreaking. Ivan says, wow, at this point, my respect for you is unbelievable. I am so thankful for your existence. Thank you for everything. Well, you're welcome, and I guess it's nice to be appreciated. Sam says, laugh out loud. I just noticed Whoops. Yeah, we are. Nope. I did it again, damn it.
We have 3 Samanthas here.
We do! Ha! We have 3 Samanthas. All right. Last time we had 3 Vanessas. Luna says that Lavender, love your style. Joy says, does it matter in which direction an altar faces? No, not really. I mean, you can have an altar in any direction you want.
Yeah. Native Americans tend to use north a little more.
And we tend to use east or north, depending.
Yeah, but I've been using west lately. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaliyah says, hello everyone. Hi, Aaliyah. Sam says, you'd be surprised how many of us are out there. I got busted by one of the movers who immediately recognized my witchy things and told me his wife was a witch. Ooh, I gifted him some plants to take home. Cool. Yeah, we had a guy come over for when we were getting the financing for our roof through a grant program, and he saw my crossed brooms over the kitchen window, and he says, are you a Wiccan? I'm like, maybe? Like, why do you ask? Turns out he's a pagan priest, so that worked out okay. Yeah, so Catherine says a frightened spirit might share the nightmare they are having while you sleep, not knowing what they are doing. That's true. Some are quite young. And actually, sometimes when they're asking for help, frightening images is the way they're trying to get through. I had one of those things in Santa Cruz where everybody in the house was having nightmares, and it was because there was a spirit that was stuck and desperately trying to get attention. Jonathan said, hi, Aaliyah. Luna says, damn, your house must be bigger than mine. Nope, so, not really. Did I miss one?
Skip 2.
I did. I knew I was going to do that. Okay, there we go. Do you have any outdoor altars? Well, sort of. I mean, I have, like, in my garden, I have an angel under my cherry tree, and under that is buried a spell that the willow tree gave me for prosperity, sort of like even, like not crazy prosperity, but just good prosperity. So I suppose that's kind of like an outdoor altar. But I would love to have an outdoor altar. I mean, maybe at some point in the future. Sam says, at Joy, I think it does if it matters to you, but for me, they face however they face, and I just go by intuition and what makes me feel the way I want to feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I might face a particular direction when I'm invoking something, but usually, if Western Hermetic magicians always have the altar in the east, and interestingly to witches are normally long and flat, low and long altars, and the ceremonialists tend to have tall, thin altars.
Well, and then some, like some of the Wiccan groups, they put the altar in the middle of the room, which I find difficult, because then people are always knocking things over. And that's why I put altars in all the directions, because that way I've got everything covered, but then people don't fall over it in the middle of the room. So yeah, I don't think my house is actually bigger than yours. I just put a lot of altars in it. Use my dresser or whatever I have, that kind of thing. Devangi says, altars are significant in every civilization, in India as well. We call it Havan Kund or Agni Kund. Cool. And also there are ancient texts that teach how to make fire altar of different geometries and how every geometry has different functions.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah, to perform. Yeah. There's a lot of ancient history and knowledge and stuff in India and some of their old texts and things. I have several Hindu deities that I interact with. So Sarasvati is one of them, and Kali, and the Dagda, and no, she's not from India. There's a few others I can't think of right now. Oh, this is from Tibet, and this is the representation of a group of spirits that are sort of like the Graces in Greek mythology. Anyway, Gwen says, I haven't knowingly messed with spirits or done any shadow work. One day, something that looks like a woman that sometimes turns into a monstrous form showed up. Well, has somebody gotten mad at you and sent you a monstrous form? That can happen too. I mean, someone can send you a thought form, and sometimes knowingly, sometimes not knowingly, although usually if it's that solidified, it's knowingly. like they're thinking really hard thoughts at you. I had that happen in a house I lived in where somebody was mad at me, and I kept seeing her thought forms going through the mirror in my bedroom because we were housemates. And I actually put a mirror up to reflect them back at her, so she didn't sleep all night. I slept like a baby because her thought forms were gone. So it can be something like that. So you might want to put up some protective circle stuff and do some mirror work. Like, you can get those little craft mirrors and you can put them, facing up on your ceiling, facing down on your floor, facing out on the inside of your walls, out your windows or whatever. And then before you go to sleep at night, visualize them reflecting things away from you. Nothing that is not for you, nothing that is against you, can come in, kind of thing. So that might help. It's sort of another way to set boundaries, but on a spiritual, psychic level. And I do that too. So Luna says, did I miss one?
No.
Okay. Luna says, does casting a circle prevent individuals traveling on the mental or astral planes from being able to see you? It depends on how you do your circle.
Yeah, but generally it doesn't prevent them from seeing you.
It prevents them from getting into you if you've said they can't come in.
There's things you can do for astral invisibility and such if you want that, but it's kind of a specific, different thing than casting a circle.
So Rebecca says, I used to use a walking stick as a portable altar. Of course, I used to have to hide what I am from family. Yeah, that can be difficult. And yeah, an altar can be just like an attitude, really, towards your objects. They don't have to be in a specific order. You can just have something you really like on your dresser, and it can become an altar because you think of it as a sacred thing. And other people might just see it as like, an ornament of some kind.
But you have to watch out. I had someone I know once came home, and people had come into his place while he was at work, and one of them was picking the mud out of his shoes with his Artemis. So you have to watch out who gets exposed to your tools, because they might pick the mud out of their shoes with them.
Or that idiot at that one ritual we were at who took my Artemis off the altar to give to somebody to cut a pumpkin pie. I was really annoyed at that.
I think he did it on purpose.
I think so too.
To be annoying, yes.
I think so too. I think he was just annoying. He really was filled with himself. Duh. But anyway. So Lavender says, at Devangi, sacred geometry is definitely amazing to research, especially if you work with crystals and cast runes. Vanessa V says, I made my altar in the shape of a miniature stone circle. Sounds
cool.
Nice. I like that. Samantha B says, awesome, the mirror work like return to sender. Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's like, my basic shield when I'm going out and doing stuff. Right now I'm wearing all my bracelets just to remind everybody that you can use, stones and stuff like that to help keep other people's energy out, especially when you go where there's large groups of people, like shopping and so forth. So I have like labradorite, black tourmaline, zoisite, which is a ruby matrix, and obsidian, an agate, a lapis, amethyst, and chalcedony for adding energy. I have other ones that I'm not wearing right now, like kyanite and stuff like that. It depends on the mood I'm in as to what I put on. But the act of putting them on, like when you use something like that, each time you do it, you're reinforcing that energetic statement. And it's like, I'm putting this on to reflect people's negative energy away from me. I'm putting this on to, protect myself from their energy or whatever. And I'm putting this on to bring a certain amount of calmness and serenity to my own energy and keep myself clear. So whenever you're doing stuff like that, repeating it is important because it sort of solidifies it on the other planes. So then,
kind of like cutting a groove in,
exactly,
or something.
Yeah, you're making a deeper and deeper line every time you do it.
And it gets stronger and stronger.
And then it just becomes automatic, so you don't even have to think about just the act of putting them on makes them work. Although I still like to think about it, but still, if you're in a hurry, you can do that. And so And the farther along you go into exploring magic and realms and things like that, I think the more important your personal space and protection turns out to be, especially when you're sleeping, because that's when you're the most vulnerable. So, we both take measures to make sure that our sleep is not disturbed by something that we don't want. And it works pretty well. Every so often, some idiot breaks through with something, and then, oh, yeah, I forgot. I need to redo that one. It's been a while. So Sam says, at Gwen, that can be really spooky and alarming. But the calmer you can remain, the easier the situation is to deal with. It's easy to protect yourself if you stay calm.
Helps a lot.
Definitely helps. And Devangi says that lavender sounds interesting. And Sam says that Vanessa loved that. Angela says, whoops, yeah, there we go. I did it again. My family is Catholic and doesn't like witches. Luckily, they see me as a fantasy nerd artist. I use tarot and oracle decks as pocket altars. Well, that works.
Whatever you need to do.
Yeah, whatever you have to do. And it's really funny considering how much ritual there is in Catholicism. And how many altars. I mean, put an altar to Mary, they would never know that it was a pagan goddess. It's all in your head, right? You could do that one in the open and they would think, oh, thank goodness she's coming back to the fold. And so Vanessa V says, and a friend of my mom says that it is a vortex of energy, like a portal pulling energy. They are always telling me not to open portals. Well, if you're going to open a portal, you always got to make sure you close it. So Angela says, you should have given that guy a slice of pie to your deities if he's going to cut it.
No, we didn't let him do that.
No, I just sort of stood there and looked at Ian and said, he's touching my Athene. I was like afraid to move because I wasn't sure what I was doing. He said, what are you doing? That is not okay. And chewed him out and said, well, if you don't want people to touch your stuff, you shouldn't just leave it out in the open where anybody can grab it. It's on an altar that we've been using for this entire ritual. Yeah, you're just an asshole. But yes, so Vanessa says, I don't know what they are talking about, but I don't do it on purpose at least. Well, yeah. Sometimes people just like to say stuff. You can't use the Ouija board because you're going to open portals and anything and everything will come through it. It's like, that's not how actually Ouija boards work, but no, whatever. Devangi says, mud out of their shoes. Yeah. Monica says, I know this is a bit dark, but if you think someone might be possessed, is there a way you can help them? Well, for one thing, if they are possessed, the best thing they can do is decide they don't want to be possessed, because, we have the willpower to stop things from happening. But I'm not sure because, possession is a tricky thing, and I know it can happen, but usually that means the person is weak. They've got some kind of a issue in their brain that's making them vulnerable. Earthbound spirits will tend to attach themselves to people who are drinking alcohol at a bar. I've seen it happen, and they'll just sort of wander off with them just to try and feel what it's like to be alive, that kind of thing. So I guess the question is, if the person that you know is possessed, what are they possessed with? Did they invite it? Was it something they were trying to do and it went awry? Did it happen by accident? Did they go to a haunted house, open themselves up, and take it home with them? I mean, specifics can be important in trying to figure out what actually to do. But selenite in the pocket is a good start. If you can give them a piece of selenite, because selenite has got this wonderful light energy. It just sort of emanates from it. And if it's a dark energy, it doesn't like it. So that might be something. I don't know. Find out. Ask me more questions. Luna says, I've heard that you can imagine an altar in your mind. If you're not able to have a physical altar, especially useful if you practice the LBRP in a small space. Well, actually, one of the things I taught the guys at the prison when I was there was making their own astral temple and doing rituals on the mental plane in their astral temple. and visualizing their tools and so forth, so that when they got out and if they were still going to practice, their tools would come to them, because it sort of puts that out in the universe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
absolutely.
check back with them, yeah. Absolutely, I agree.
So Sam says that, Angela, I'm sorry you can't be out. My family are all pagans, but my in-laws are Catholic, and they similarly think I'm just a fantasy nerd, so I hear you. It's not a bad cover. Because really, there's no point in sharing something that's really important to you if they're going to put it down. Vanessa said, thanks, it's Sam. Rebecca says, Monica, that is an interesting question. I would like to know that answer too. That would be the one about possession. Okay, trying to keep this straight in my head. Jonathan at Monica, there are ways to help, but it's difficult work. Angela says, some people have cloth ears and will never understand. No point in having conversations if they won't understand. I used to try to have that conversation about the similarities.
Yeah, it's true. I ran into a bunch of them that, yeah, it just seems pointless.
It was so funny when they told me Catholics don't believe in ghosts. So I said, that's what a Holy Spirit there was, 10 seconds of silence and subject change. Yep. Because, they don't really want to know that what they're doing is actually that. Although some of them are open-minded. I mean, it's just a generalization, so I don't want to, say that about all of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be like having, the people that depossess other people with church sanction. Yes, the exorcists, if they didn't believe in spirits. Of course, those are demons, I guess, so different. Samantha says, whoops, I moved it too far. Speaking, I saw that here we are. Speaking of sleeping when I'm woken up at 4 or 5 a.m., it is frustrating, then tired. I was told someone put hoodoo or voodoo on me. That's why I asked before how to identify, because possibility an illusionist. Well, I think the things that we talked about would help with that. Regardless of if it was a spell, if you do a return to sender kind of thing. Although you never know, sometimes knowing exactly what it is helpful. When I was up in Toronto, I had what looked like a demon kind of figure coming at me when I was at a hostel. And I mean, it was there. It was as vivid as anything else, and it had teeth and stuff and kept coming at me, and I was like, I don't know why someone has sent this to me. And I went for a walk in town. I went into Chinatown, and I found a statue that looked very much like the thing I was seeing, and so I focused on that statue to get a good link to it, and then the person who sent it to me, and then sent it back to them, and felt this like, what kind of thing happened just as I finished. So sometimes having a focus is helpful. Alia says, Anubis. Yes, Anubis is I like him. Ivangi says, I am new into getting to know about magic and energies. I mostly read a lot. So I have one question. I usually don't feel sleepy at night. I mostly feel active at night and a little lazy, but during daytimes. I don't know if it's normal nocturnal behavior, but my energy is more active. I am confused. It's 4:22 and I am full of energy. Yeah, everyone's different, I guess. You can train yourself to be the opposite, but, if it's working for you right now. Aaliyah says, you may catch people's energies during the day, so when people are sleeping, you feel re-energized. Yeah, that's true. Because when people are asleep, there's fewer active thought forms flying around, and sometimes it's easier to meditate if you're vulnerable or to that kind of influence. So Crystal says, how do Ouija boards actually work? Well,
they don't do anything on their own, basically. They're just a board. It's a piece of board with letters on it. Whatever happens comes through the individuals.
Yep. And if you're going to use one and you're worried about what's going to happen, you cast a circle, you keep your boundaries up, you state like you would with a spirit in your house, what the ground rules are. When you're done, you tell it that, anything that's left over needs to leave because, the communication is now over. I never had a problem really with Ouija boards, except when I was
no,
really
you
young.
shouldn't unless you got the wrong idea completely, because basically they're inert. Spirit might communicate through you to the planchette, and you might get some genuine results out of them.
And if it starts to act stupid and say stupid things, stop the session immediately, because what you're doing is either your own subconscious or some lower being or whatever, and it's pointless. So Gwen says, at Devangi, I am the same. The moon energizes me and the sun weakens me. Devangi says, I see at Aaliyah. And at Gwen, thank God I'm not alone. I thought I got some disorder. Well, we're all different. That's the thing. It's like there's no one right way to be, really. Or one, we all have different physical things and challenges, emotional, mental things, spiritual things. And it's okay if we're different. Thing is, at least there's some of us that are different enough that we can find each other and know that we're not completely insane. Cami says, hello, everyone. Hi, Cami. Thank you for joining us. Whoops, I did it again. My finger. Gwen says, well, I don't know why I'm like this, but you're not alone. Monica says, thank you for your advice. You were spot on. My brother has been in and out of psych ward for years, has been doing well, and is at home. But last night, when I spoke to him, he was telling me about his nightmare, and before he could begin, he began dry heaving. Possession question. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad that was somewhat helpful. It's not easy, though, if you have a mental health disorder and your brain is not working quite the same way, so that can be a challenge. But if you can clear it up, it might help. So Angela says, may whatever it is, let go of him, if that's in fact what's going on. So sorry, whatever's happening, Monica, sounds horrible. Monica says, I felt like it was trying to come through the phone, so I cleansed with dragon's blood. Yeah, good idea. You don't want to open invitation to anything. And I wonder about phones sometimes, too. Sam says at Monica. Oops, I did it again. I'm so sorry, that sounds really hard to deal with, Monica says, but if he does have a demon, I want it gone, but he might just need shadow work too. Well, I mean, if there's a mental health disorder in there, it could be a manifestation of what's going on with him as well. I mean, his condition might be attracting a certain type of spirit, so if he gets well, mentally well, then that can take care of it, because then he can have his own, boundaries and so forth, and a clarity of mind is going to go a long way. So if there's medication that works for him and stuff like that, then that's a good idea, because that's going to only help. It's never just one thing, it seems. Angela says, why not do both, cover both bases? Samantha says, this had been big help. Thank you so much. I'm going to see if my mom will help with it and then place some mirrors. Okay, good. Then it says, I still cannot see the entity attached to my son. I mostly just get sharp-bared teeth. I tried to get a look at the weekend on the mental plane, but it kept shifting around rapidly, so I couldn't. Yeah, sometimes they don't want you to see them just because. If you have a real clear picture of them, it's easier they lose more, I guess, oomph, or what have you. Angela says, a cleansing ritual for him and have him do shadow work to help himself can't hurt. Shadow work is good. Yes. Psychotherapy is good too. Then it says, see it properly. Then it choked me each time I had to return to beta consciousness. This happened 5 times before I had to call it a night. Could I use an image object to try and connect with it? Well, like what I did with the demon-ish thing that attacked me when I was in Toronto. Absolutely. You can draw a picture of it maybe if you're artistic, or find something that reminds you of it. And then if I have to do something like that, if you're going to use something that way, then you treat the object as if it were dangerous. If you're treating the thing that's happening as dangerous, you treat it the same way. So do it seriously. I had to do that with a knife at one point, and had to de-energize this ritual knife that I couldn't actually touch in person, so I used a surrogate knife to do the ritual with. And I treated that butter knife as if it was the most dangerous object in the universe. Because if you're going to do sympathetic magic, you have to make it believable. Otherwise, it's not really going to work. If it's like, ha ha ha, you know. So Samantha says, oh, that's another question. I love mirrors and have lots of them. Just my mom is worried about too many and that they are portals. Okay, so you can seal them up. I mean, when I do when I seal up a house, I seal up mirrors because yes, they can be portals for spirits to come in. So see, there's a video I did. It's called let me think. Ghost proofing your house. Watch that. That will have all the information on how to close all those things and how to do that ritual in order to keep things out that you don't want. And it's too long to go into in the next 5 minutes. Jonathan said, at Monica, my spirituality was forever changed when a friend was plagued by a demon and I arrogantly decided I would help him. I did the work, but it's years of work. Find a spiritual expert to help. Okay, now what happened? My finger, here we go. Violet says, I've been very slow to invoke because I do not want more chaos in my house, like electrical or refrigerator or furnace, critters, etc.
You know, those types of things usually happen when, and please forgive me for saying this, but like Western Hermetic magicians do things like evocations, and some of the energy gets out of control. I mean, usually you're not going to bring any more chaos in unless you're just doing it chaotically. I mean, yeah, I think most of those incidences are because they're not applying the proper rules to the subject. Is that, I don't know if the way I said it made any sense.
Well, we're getting on, so it's hard to get into some of those subjects. So Angela says, I think sometimes things can interact with the phone. My friend and I were on the phone once. Suddenly the signal became static. I heard many voices. My friend couldn't hear me, but several voices said, I love you. Then a few minutes of me trying to understand this, my friend came back, trying to get to the last part of this, and asked if it was aliens because he heard it too, and we laughed. Well, I mean, you know, technology, it's one of the things that spirits can do with, like, voice recorders and stuff like that. So Lavender says, how do you turn your powers off and on like the third eye? Do some grounding techniques and shielding techniques and practice turning it off. Sometimes it works. Eat. Food is good for grounding. Get involved in something interesting, like a craft or a movie or a show.
Yeah, get involved in something physical that
Something
involves your body and gets
something
you
distracting.
Get you out of that abstract state that lets things come through.
So Violet says, I had a real demon sound come through the phone. It was failing tech on her end, but sheesh, was it ever real sounding to me. Kind of like No Doubt to me. So, Luna says, thank you, Siofra. Oh, the butter knife you buried in the yard. Yep, you remember. Yeah. Violet says, yay, me too. Jonathan says, Barden mentioned secrecy about certain things to protect our magic. Closed groups are often secretive. How do you feel about secrecy and magic? I saved this question for the end. It depends on what it is and why it's secret. I mean, I often believe in the open secret that you can tell somebody something if they're not ready to understand it. They won't understand a thing that you're saying, so in a sense it's still a secret. But then there's other things that if you tell it to somebody who is going to scoff at it and think you're an idiot and put that kind of energy into what you just said, then you're diminishing your power.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I think there's more to some kinds of secrecy. When Barden talks about it in particular, he's talking about the way the universe reacts to you, the way the Akasha reacts to you, The Akasha is protective of a certain amount of its secrets. It's a mechanical thing. It's not, but, so you can keep secrets to keep people from misunderstanding what you say, because on one level, if you haven't advanced far enough, they're not going to understand it, and then when you tell them something, they will misunderstand it in such a way that it amounts to the same thing as if you'd lied to them. And then if they take that and put that into use, then it's not doing them any good. And there are some things that are just literally like the idea of putting a gun in somebody's hand. If they don't comprehend or believe how to use them, one of the things that saves people in magical stuff is usually the people who try that type of stuff haven't worked on themselves, and they haven't trained themselves, and they don't have enough strength or energy to actually hurt themselves.
So I missed a few things up here. Violet says, I want peace so bad that I might be robbing myself of another real miracle. And Angela says, I've only just started trying invocation with my deities. I wanted to make sure I knew them well before trying, which is a good idea. Have an established relationship with them. Generally speaking, when you're working with deities, it's not as dangerous, but it can be overwhelming. Some of their energy is just, pretty powerful. So, okay, we're at the end of our show at this point.
The other thing about secrecy, closed groups are often secretive because they've gotten information they've handed down that they don't want to share with other people. And a lot of times the closed groups can be, there can be groups that will use that to, rather than hiding things for good reasons, will keep secrets to protect their own power, and then it's used as a power play. So I totally disagree with that use. Yeah.
So Dublin says that Siofra Hello is the guy in the background your husband. Yes, he is. He's highly intelligent, in my opinion. Thank you. I think he is
Thank
too.
you.
Chantel says, do you know how far back was the video? And everybody's talking to me at once. Yeah, it's in the beginning. Go to the first page. I don't know if you can do a search and search for ghost proofing your house or not, but yeah. Violet says, love you guys, bye. Angela says, closed groups might also have lots of people not out yet, broom closeted.
That's true too.
Jonathan says, thank you for the answer on secrecy. Thank you for the live stream. Monica says, thank you everyone for your kind words and advice. We will be all right. I might give him some selenite, but I'm not trying to mess around with the other. He is going to have to fight his own battles. Ivan says, thank you for everything. Have a lovely day. Angela says, love and blessings. Thank you guys. So it's been fun. Don't forget, you can always send me an email at schaefersmagicalcove@gmail.com. And if you've got suggestions for video.
Thank you for an awesome chat today.
Yep, this has been awesome. Great. Lovely. Bye.